Hey guys, welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. I'm excited to do another talking watches type episode with a friend of mine. This is John, who actually sold me my GMT Master 2, so I had to wear this watch today when we talk watches. So John is here to talk about his collection and talk a little bit of watches. We have no script here, so we're just gonna go with the flow. And thanks for coming in today, man.
Happy to be here.
So let's do a wrist check, actually. Why don't you show us what you've got on wrist right now?
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, right here.
So right here is the Panerai PAM 1312. It has everything you'd ever want in a Panerai.
Yeah.
Panerai is my first love. My dad works for Panerai, and that's kind of what got me into watches in general.
Uh-huh.
I remember growing up and learning reference numbers with him as he was learning them. His best friend was the Rolex rep, so I remember going over to his house.
Yeah.
And just I remember seeing like aluminum Pepsis, aluminum bezel Pepsi watches and Cokes. And
as a kid, you remember that?
As a kid, I will never forget.
Wow.
Seeing those watches like in a case because he was the rep and he had all these cool watches. But for some reason, the Pepsi just like it burned into my brain. I didn't know much about it, but I knew that they were just quality timepieces.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wanted to learn more about them.
That's awesome.
So.
And little did you know that how crazy those go on the secondary market. However many years later it's been since you remember that.
Well, it's always cool to see when someone comes and I see them wearing an old Pepsi and they paid just a couple
7,000.
I mean,
oh, you mean like
the old ones?
Old ones, 70s.
How much they appreciate because it stands the test of time. Everybody wants them. They know what it is, and it just has that cool factor I love.
So you, your first love was Panerai. You remember vintage Rolexes. You've been around watches basically since you were young.
Yeah.
What do you love about this one particularly?
This one, for me anyways, has everything you'd ever want in a Panerai. To quote my dad, this is just Panerai DNA.
Okay.
I mean, it has the sandwich dial.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if people know what a sandwich dial is.
Yeah,
it's just cut out over the loom there. It has a 1950s case, so a little bit thicker, a little more, I guess, bubbly, I guess, on the crystal.
I gotta say, 50s cases are my favorite of the Luminor. There's just something about like this side profile and the way the lugs come down, and that is just dang cool. So.
Has a 3-day power reserve.
Mm-hmm.
It has an exhibition case back. You'll see back here.
Yeah.
And then obviously the iconic crown guard here.
Yeah. You let me borrow this and try it out on the channel and stuff, which is really cool. I think that was the first Panerai that I had reviewed and featured here. And this one I love because this one had the jumping hour, the time zone feature for traveling, which, man, I wish all watches had that feature.
It gets a little tedious. I know a lot of guys wish that it had that instant date.
Yeah.
But just taking a little extra time to set it, it really is I like it anyways, to kind of look, get to know my watch, and just remember everything that it means to me,
Yeah.
So, this watch probably means the most to me, as it was a gift from my dad, so.
That's awesome.
You can see right here, it'll say he engraved my name right there on the.
No, I didn't even notice that when the last time I saw this thing. That's awesome, man.
Enjoy it.
That's way cool. So I know you brought a few other watches, and you've got a killer box. Why don't you slide that box over? Because I know you guys would like seeing this.
And just, it's the Panerai OEM 6 watch holder box. I guess that's the word you call it. And then if you guys want to, should I just...
Pull it open, man.
So here's the collection.
That's sweet.
So I have a Luminor Duet right here. And then, I don't even get to introduce these two probably.
I didn't even talk about those.
So that is my collection right there.
Yeah. So I got to say, John, actually, I feel like there's a barrier now. Let's move that back.
Should I put them out here?
Yeah, let's put them on here. So there are some guys that have really, kind of extensive collections. They have dozens of watches, anywhere from G-Shocks, affordable Seikos and Oruses and, Hamiltons and Tissot's. And then you go on up all through the luxury brands, Omega and Rolex and Tudor and higher than that. But you have 4, which is a fairly small amount. And are you happy with this number? Is it too many? Is it too little? Like, what about the small, potent collection draws you to it?
That's a good question. I don't even know how to answer that question. I mean, it's interesting because I do like, these are my two favorite brands, Rolex and Panerai. I've given the last 4 years of my life to the Rolex brand.
Right.
I grew up with Panerai. And these are the two watches from each brand that I've always wanted that I couldn't live without. So it's a small collection now, but I definitely foresee it growing. I mean, I know for a fact that I want a Grand Seiko down the road. I want an IWC Big Pilot. I know that for a fact. I used to have one more watch in this collection. It was a TW Steel CEO Goliath. I won in a golf tournament.
Okay. Well, like, I don't even recognize
it anymore.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Okay.
I ended up selling that one. But.
So you are not like some people in this hobby, I think myself, who are so impatient. We're like, dude, I got to get this watch.
Yeah.
And I got to get this watch. Oh, I better sell this watch so I can get this next watch. You're like, hey, it's just going to come as it comes and I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, that's kind of the feeling I'm getting here.
Oh, you have to understand, like, I don't think that I grew up in, like I was saying earlier, I mean, I didn't know anything about watches. My first experience with watches was with Panerai and Rolex.
Yeah.
And I never kind of came up the ranks like most collectors do, starting with their way up and then idolizing a certain watch, whether it be Patek or a Rolex. So I never got into like and I think they're really cool, but I never got into like the smaller brands, the kind of like the flipping, the trading, the
brands that most people kind of cut their teeth in the hobby. You kind of skipped over that, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, and that may sound interesting, but that's not. I don't want to come off like that. But that's just the way it was for me.
Yeah, no, it's cool because what you have here going on, if I may, like you have two brands, and they're similar, and you've got color, you've got different complication, you've got open back, you've got Jubilee, you've got the desirable stuff, you've got the quintessential Panerai. Like, this is a pretty potent 4-piece duo. And I know I wouldn't get tired of flipping in between watches every day. And it probably helps that you sell watches and you're around them, for the past 4 years. So maybe you're not as itchy as some of us, like, hey, I've got to buy this watch, I've got to buy that watch, I don't know. So
that definitely helps as well. I mean, getting around, so for your viewers, I used to work at a Rolex store.
Yeah.
And I still sell Rolex for my company, OC Tanner.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, when you first started working with Rolex, you hold it on this pedestal, right? And it's just like, wow. But when you work with Rolex, the quality and the realization and the justification of holding it on a pedestal really comes to light. Yeah. I mean, you really deal with these things and you feel them, you hold them, you put them on your wrist, you can feel the quality. I've never really even taken in a warranty problem with a Rolex. I mean, they're just.
I was gonna say, you sell Rolex, but you also have Tudor, Omega, Breitling, you have Patek, you have IWC, Cartier. And you see the issues when people come in, hey, I need to service this, hey, this broke, hey, whatever, I need a new strap. So you're telling me that you probably get a lot less Rolex coming back for issues, repair, than you have other brands. Like, you're saying the quality control is tangible in your experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, every Rolex takes at least a year to make.
That's crazy.
And thousands of hands go into the production of a Rolex. Unseen hands, and obviously, the actual people putting the watch together. Every single watch that Rolex makes is individually tested. Yeah. I mean, these two watches right here are one of the few products in the world that can say they're waterproof. Most everything else is just resistant. But because Rolex tests every single watch, this watch.
And it's not like an air test. It's a water test. It's submerged in water.
Submerged in water. Yeah. And it goes through several other tests to have that superlative chronometer certification. Yeah. It's just if there was a watch that I needed to know that would tell me the right time, wherever I was in the world, it would be a Rolex.
Wow. So I noticed you have the Pepsi right here. And that's kind of going back to your roots when you noticed the aluminum Pepsi. And I don't know, take us through getting this and what it means to you. And where it stands in your rotation. Is it, one of your favorites, or is it, yeah, it's okay? Tell us about your experience with the Pepsi.
It is, when it first came out, I think we all just like our jaws dropped. I mean, it was just the coolest watch. But like I was telling you, I mean, this watch burned in my brain as a young kid. So when I saw it come back to life.
Yeah.
I mean, before this, it was only available in white gold.
Yeah.
On an oyster bracelet. When I saw it, I was like, that's the watch I want. That is the watch that's for me.
And it probably presents some issues, like if you're at the store and you're wearing it, and you get someone come in that wants it, and they see you wearing it, they're probably a little salty, right? Has that happened to you? Or do you not wear this very often at the store?
You get watch shamed sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't wear it all the time. I mean, I think it's important to know for the viewers that this was a gift. It was not from any kind of stock plan. It didn't come out of a possible watch for anyone else.
Sure.
Because they closed the boutique I was working at. Not to go into any further detail, but yeah, I mean, it is something I'm proud of, but I also am sensitive to the fact that it is one of probably the top 5 to 10 watches in the world, hard to get watches.
Yeah.
The Hulk included right now. I mean,
and we're watch twins because you were there. I went and bought the Hulk from you and Bruno, which was so awesome. So, yeah. Well, tell us about the Dewey over here, because this one is feather light and a little interesting. So enlighten us here a little bit about this watch.
So this watch is a newer release by Panerai. Obviously, it looks very similar. Well, it is basically, it's a Luminor model. This has a beautiful blue dial. I wish we had like a natural light I could show you, but when I'm driving my car with my arm up, and it's just, there's no dial prettier than this dial.
Really?
It's cracker thin.
And it's got a gilt accent, it looks like, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It
also has a micro rotor, 3-day power reserve as well. You'll find that pretty common with most Panerai. They go up to 8 days. Exhibition case back. The titanium I love. Super light. What else? I mean, it has a calf strap, and it's just a clean watch, no date, just straight up time on, small seconds.
I know some watch guys reserve with Panerai is they're big, they're wide, and how do you find the comfort as a guy that has average size wrists? Like I would assume you're what, like 7-inch around?
Yeah, I measure my wrist, but I think it's right around,
Okay.
7, yeah.
Do they, like, if you're wearing your Rolex one day and then you put on one of your Panerais, is it noticeable? Is it funky? Do you have to get used to it, or is it still really sharp and comfortable?
It's sharp and comfortable. I'll tell you, and this is what I tell everybody. It's a large watch. This is 44. This is 45 millimeter. And the only reason that most of the enthusiasts like it is because it has that's because it's its history. It's not just big to be big.
It's not an Invicta or something that's just gaudy.
It's just like boom. But when this watch was made, it was big. Yeah. I mean, it was made for the frogmen to go underwater in the middle of the night, and they put radium or radioactive on to make it legible in the dark. So it has a reason for being big, and it wouldn't be the same if it wasn't big to me, because that is Panerai's DNA. It's big and it's
so like a 38 millimeter Dewey. That's a ladies' Panerai then. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's different for every person.
Like. I mean, Panerai makes a 40 millimeter as well, and a lot of women wear that. You can't go wrong, but for me anyways, 44, 45, even 47 is a little big for my wrist, but I think that it's just a fantastic size, and that history being there makes it a lot more palatable for me anyways. But.
So John, do you have a favorite? Would it be the first one, or is another one kind of of yours? Yeah, that you have.
Like a favorite. Well, so favorite for different reasons. This one means the most to me.
Okay.
I'll never ever get rid of this watch. Any of these really. So this one means the most. This one is probably my favorite. This is probably my third.
Is it?
Yeah.
Cool, man. No, I gotta brag about you a little bit. I know you're a humble guy, but you wear your sport watches. I know you go hunting, you go fishing, you go camping. And has this been refinished?
Not, I mean,
Not-
a little bit actually.
I mean, you
yeah.
guys you can see. I know you've replaced the crystal
Yeah, I
because you had a
huge
big old
scratch on my crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just gotta say I love the fact that you wear your watches and you're not gonna freak out if you get a scratch in the crystal, or there's some hairline wear in the bracelet or something like that, and that is so refreshing to see someone that's not held captive by their hobby. It's like, hey, I'm enjoying the hobby, and I'm not gonna let this bother me. So I gotta say that's really awesome, and more of us in the watch community need to kind of do that.
Yeah, you can't let the watch wear you. You gotta wear the watch. You own it. I mean, I'm sensitive to the fact that you probably don't want to go rock climbing in a Pepsi. That would just be stupid. But
Yeah.
like I said, I was hunting last year or a couple years ago, and I was wearing my Rolex the entire time.
Yeah.
Doing everything a hunter would do with it, and it's just a dependable watch that I choose to wear wherever I go.
And I know you're a golfer too. Do you wear a watch when you golf, or is it the swing and the? I mean, people have different opinions.
I used to wear my Hulk golfing all the time.
Yeah.
It's safer on your wrist than in the bag. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people getting pickpocketed. So
I wouldn't.
keep it on my wrist.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
But yeah, I mean, I still play the same golf with the watch on or off. I mean, I haven't worn golfing for a while. But it absolutely can handle
Yeah.
any kind of G-force on a golf swing. So.
Sweet. Well, I think I want to ask you a couple more questions just as we wrap up this video. But I think the viewers would appreciate. What's it like selling watches? Like, is there a favorite aspect about selling luxury watches? And on the flip side, is there something that drives you crazy? You know, let's hear the good and the bad about being in the industry and seeing it from a different perspective than us watch, buyers, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, even like when we were eating wings before we did this.
Yeah.
We were talking about.
We ate the best, guys. Okay, if I know some of you watch me in Utah, Trolley Wing Company, so good, so good. Yeah, unpaid advertisement there. Trolley Wing Company, so good. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, it's like I was saying, I wake up every day and I'm happy to go do my job. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing better. I get to talk with cool people. I get to talk about a cool product, and people are excited to talk to me, and I'm excited to talk to them, and we have that connection. So that's probably the most exciting thing about my job. Also, I love getting to know them and being able to call them and say, hey, like your watch is in.
Your Hulk just came in.
And they just are the happiest people. It makes me happy to make them happy.
And you probably have to do a lot of educating too, because I know sometimes you have to come, like me as an example, I came into the store I think a couple times before I even bought anything. It was a type of a growing experience, getting to know you and the other people. So I mean, you probably have to do that a fair amount of education and building a relationship. And
Yeah, I mean, educating yourself on the watch, educating yourself on how to deal with different clients, different people, is definitely something that I'm no master at, but I feel like I'm getting better at. And then just educating yourself in the watch world in general, being able to have an intelligent conversation about watches is what I feel like most customers and viewers like. It means a lot to them. So.
Because you get anywhere from someone who's not necessarily a watch person that comes in that just want a nice watch, and then you get weirdos like me that come in with the camera and, hey, can I film buying this watch, and this is this spec and this spec, and you get it all, right? So
yeah, we get it all. We get a little less of your guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, we get a lot of people that just never, always heard about the Rolex name, but never knew much about it, and being able to just give them a few key topics about Rolex and what makes them so great, or about Breitling or Omega or Tudor or even Patek Philippe. Being able to touch on a few topics and just kind of see their eyes open to the world of watches, because I think it's hard for a lot of people to understand, like, why do people spend $10, $20, $30, $40,000 on a watch where your phone can literally do the same thing, probably, but better.
Yeah, it's more accurate.
Yeah, it's more accurate.
Yeah.
And being able to talk about why that is, and the quality and the reason why, and the value retention of watches, and kind of seeing them, oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
And instead of coming in kind of sometimes they get a little combative, like, that's stupid. Why would I do that? Why would anyone do that?
That's as much as a car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and just kind of able to talk and like, you know, watch people actually come in and say they come in and say that's stupid, and all of a sudden they're buying Rolex watches.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's
awesome.
cool. So can you say, is there something that bugs you? Like what's annoying, I guess?
So I mean,
I know you enjoy your job,
yeah.
so you don't have to answer.
I'm a
if
pretty
there's nothing.
optimistic guy at heart, and I love my job. And it's something that bugs me is the one thing that bugs me is like I like to make people happy.
Yeah.
I like to see them leave happy. And with the current climate lately, I'm not able to do that because I would say 90% of my conversations with customers are regarding watches that are really hard to get from many different brands, and being able to just kind of say, hey, like it's a tough time for watches right now. I can't get that.
Well, the production, like it's not like you're getting the same amount of watches you've always had in the past year. I mean, the economic downturn, the shutdown affected the supply chains on a lot of these brands, and Rolex shut down for a while, right?
Yeah, the coronavirus threw some curveballs at us, so it's going to be a tough year for watches.
Yeah. So it sounds like you want to help people, but sometimes you're just not able to. Like you don't have, you literally do not have the merchandise.
I mean, and I know people are like, oh, well, you just don't want to sell it to me, or you have it down the vault. No, if I did, I make my living off of selling watches.
Yeah.
I'm not
I want to sell watches, right?
I want to sell watches. I want to see people leave happy. And kind of coming in at the beginning of the craze and watching it transform. I mean, I remember when we had 3 of these available for anyone that wanted them. And just kind of seeing like all of a sudden like the demand just pops.
Yeah.
It's interesting and it's kind of cool, and it also makes it awesome when I can get them one of those watches. It just makes my job all worth it, you know. So.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I hear my family coming in. They were outside being gracious as we were talking, so we're going to wrap up the video. But you're a good guy. You're a personal friend of mine. It's been an honor to have you here on the channel, hear a little bit about your past, your history, your watches. And I would love to chat with you again sometime about maybe, you know, the watch industry from your perspective and my perspective, and we can have a conversation. I think it'd be fun. So
I appreciate it, Bruce, and I wanted to give you this little rubber bracelet.
Heck
it's
yeah.
kind of an OEM Panerai. It's nothing much, but it is super cool, pretty collectible.
Heck yeah. So, dude, swag, watch swag.
I love the swag, yeah.
I love it. So I'm going to put it on right now. And I'll be honest, my 7-year-old's probably going to steal it from me later. But,
or just maybe lose it.
but hey, that's awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in today. Reach out with any questions in the comments, and stay tuned for future content.